It's that time again, time for the Power Hour right here on Picks and Parlays. I'm your host, Allie Burns from Picks and Parlays, and I've got 4 games to go over, 2 in college, 2 in the NBA. We're talking basketball today. Before we get started, I've got to let everyone know about one of our sponsors, nohouseadvantage.com. This is for all of you fantasy players out there, all right? This is the place where you want to get down. They've developed this dynamic new system for fantasy sports players. I was going to say football, but it's hockey or baseball or basketball or whatever fantasy you dig. Check them out, nohouseadvantage.com, and use our promo code P&P. It's going to get you a first deposit match of up to $50. So don't miss out on that. Okay, so I'm excited about this. I've got Ross Benjamin in the house. We are going to talk some college hoops. Ross Benjamin, you are number 5 on our picksandparlays.net leaderboard right now. Number 5. How's it going, friend?
It's going good, Ellie. We always joke about me being older, but I'm officially an old man. I became a grandparent for the first time last Thursday evening. So,
did you?
Little girl, yeah, Haley Grace.
Did you name her Allie?
Haley.
Allie?
Haley. Haylee. I didn't name her. My daughter did, though. So.
Well, congratulations. That's incredible. I'm so happy for you. That is great, Grandpa. Yeah. I like it. Grandpa Benji. Grandpa Benji in the house.
Happy everyone. Old man. Happy old man.
Yay, Haley Grace. Welcome to the world. All right. So let's talk a little college hoops action. This is going down today. We've got Texas at Iowa State. Iowa State minus 2.5. I know this started at a 1 and it's moved up to a 2.5. The total on this is 130.5. What are you looking at for this one, Ross?
Yeah, it doesn't shock me that this line has gone up to 2.5, and that line move really undeters me in my decision. Iowa State has been playing very good, Ellie, and I did have them on Saturday, although their win streak came to an end 62-60 at Kansas. They did cover as a 7.5-point favorite or underdog, and as a result, I cashed in on my 10-star top play. So. College basketball, by the way, folks, 26-17 with my or 36-27. I'm sorry, since November 17th. Not bad. 57%. That'll get it done. Texas, on the other hand, they're 3-0 straight up in their last 3 and 9-1 in their last 10. They've only played 2 true road games this year at Oklahoma and at Oklahoma State. On both occasions, they walked away with a win. Here's what I'm looking at as well. Texas can score the basketball. I mean, 16 of their 17 games, they've scored 70 points or more. The lone exception was a 56-46 win at Oklahoma State. And if anybody watched Oklahoma State play, it is a snooze fest because they play at such a slow tempo. So I don't put a lot of weight in that performance. But on the other hand, this is an Iowa State team. They've played 5 conference games this year and scored less than 70 in each one. Iowa State is 9-0 at home this year, and they're outscoring their opponents by 25.9 points per game. Yet they open, like you just said, Ellie, as a 1-point favorite. To no surprise of mine, they've moved up to 2.5. The general public is seeing exactly what I'm seeing in terms of what's happened with Ohio State lately. But you know what? Texas is a pretty damn good team too. And again, all of the team trends, or most of the team trends anyway, point toward Iowa State. I'm going with a contrarian approach here, Ellie. I'm going to take Texas here as only a 2.5-point underdog on the road at Iowa State.
That's just a little bit of a tough one for me. I'm kind of on the other side of this. I think the line moved like in the right way for the right reasons. Iowa State's a really good home team, and they've been covering. That's my issue with Texas, is they're not covering. Iowa State's covered their last 5 in a row. So for me, I personally am on the other side of this. I hate missing the best number. So like if I had to play it, I would probably, like tease it or money line it for that matter. But we're kind of in disagreement on this one, Ross.
That's okay. That happens. Respectfully disagree. The only thing, what was your point on why you liked Iowa State again, Illy? I'm sorry.
Iowa State at home is a solid team, and also they're covering like a madman right now. So
and Texas isn't covering, but Texas is very rarely has been, if at all, this year in the underdog role, like they will be tonight. So we'll see. You know what I mean? There's a reason why that line moved, and I could see why.
Yeah.
I just don't know why Iowa State, as good as they've been, and what you just alluded to, Texas has been winning, but they've been uninspiring. Why that line opened at just -1? But we'll see how it plays out.
That's just it. That's why they let us bet on this stuff, Ross, because it could go either way. That's why
Just
they let us
reminding
bet on it.
and I want to remind everybody, this game was assigned to me, and I'm doing the best job I could with it. I am not releasing this as a pay selection tonight, folks.
It's a good game, though. It will be a good
Yeah,
game. I do believe
absolutely.
that. And people at home, don't forget Ross Benjamin, number 5 on the picksandparlays.net leaderboard. Head over to the site, use the promo code PLAYOFF. It's going to save you 25% off whatever you buy from Ross. All right, let's move it over into the NBA. We're talking the 76ers at the Clippers. Sixers -1.5 on the road at the Clips. Total on this one's a 223. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I'm going to look at the total here, and sometimes I'm guilty of overthinking, like we all are, right? We make
Yes.
a simplified,
Analysis paralysis.
yes, we make a simplified, obvious look be very complicated when we don't need to.
Right.
Sometimes having a contrarian approach is okay, but you have to balance that a little bit, right, Ellie? So
Yes.
this is a Clippers team, 23 home games this year, 20 unders, and a combined average of 211.4 points per game. And that includes 7-1 to the under in their last 8 at home when facing an Eastern Conference opponent. Those 8 games had an average total of 222, right about what it is now. And they only scored 208.6 points combined between the Clippers and their opponents in those games. Philadelphia has made this total as high as it is, in my opinion. I mean, you look at the fact that they played a plethora of high-scoring games over the last few weeks. Specifically speaking, they're 11-2 to the over in their last 13. Then I look at the source I use to look at tickets bet and money bet. 57% of the tickets have been placed on the over so far, but only 5% of the money that's added up to. So in other words, Ellie, and I don't have to explain this to you, but to the viewers, 57% of the exact physical tickets bet have gone the way of the over, but it's only accounted for 5% of the betting pool, which means 95% of that money has gone to the under. That's the source I use. Another thing to keep in mind, why we may have seen this go from 227 to 223, partly is because of what I've already alluded to. The other part, Paul George is questionable, and obviously if he's out, that's going to hurt the Clippers' offensive production. Regardless, with or without Paul George, I'm going to go under 223 in this contest, Ellie.
All right. I like the under 223. It moved down way too much for me. It's, sometimes you like it at this number, it goes down a little, it confirms your play. Then it just moves down too much and you have to go the other way. So I'm with you. I think 227 to a 223 is a 5-point move. I'm going to agree with you on this one. The other thing is that the Clippers, this line's incorrect. It actually opened at the Sixers -1.5. Now it's Clippers -1.5. So that line has moved the money over. Yeah. And the Clippers are now the betting favorite. So I would kind of lean towards the Clippers in that sense as well. So that's the way we're going to do this. Clippers and the under 223 is what Ross Benjamin is telling us to do here. All right, everybody, head over to picksandparlays.net, find Ross Benjamin, use our promo code PLAYOFF to save 25%. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. We're on every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Thanks so much for stopping by the show, Ross. We'll see you next time.
3-game package in college basketball tonight, guys. And again, 31-21 with my last 52 in all sports. Thank you, Ellie.
Beautiful. Head over and grab that pack. Number 5 on the site, people. Number 5. Let's get it. Thanks, Ross. See you soon. All right. Up next, I have Nick Parsons from the Insiders Room here. We're talking about another big game tonight. Kansas State. This should be a humdinger, is what I'm thinking. We got Kansas -1.5. The total's 147. How you doing, Nick Parsons? What are you thinking about this one?
Well, yeah, number 2 Kansas on the road to take on number 13 Kansas State in the Octagon of Doom. Quite a bit on the line in this one, obviously, because the winner of this game will go on to lead in the Big 12 Conference, at least have a share of the lead. Now Kansas State, it's 15-2. It's 4-1 in conference play. They're actually coming off their first loss of the season, though. They lost 82-68 at TCU. K-State was down by 14 at halftime and then just had no shot in the second half. And then we have Kansas. It's 16-1. It's 5-0 in Big 12 play. And it survived a bit of a scare last time out against number 14 Iowa State in Lawrence. It held on for the 62-60 victory. So it does have one game up on K-State, Iowa State, and number 7 Texas. But sort of that close call, that's part of the reason why I like this one here, Ali. I don't see the Jayhawks. Obviously, they're not going to take anything for granted here. And I don't usually like playing on teams on huge win streaks, but I do think that Kansas can keep this 10-game win streak alive. One thing I will point out is that the Jayhawks are winning games, but they're not covering spreads. And you just talked about this in your last analysis there with Ross. They're just 7-10 against the spread this year. And that's why I'm not, in fact, going to suggest a play on Kansas against the spread. I'm going to suggest playing them on the money line here. That's my official call on this one. I like the money line on this one. You know, I think that the Wildcats loss to TCU is a bit concerning. They had 20 turnovers in that game compared to 10 for just TCU. And that's the type of sloppy play is just not going to get the job done here against this opportunistic Kansas team. And so I think Kansas can hand Kansas State its second straight loss in a row, its first loss at home, and turn the octagon of doom into the octagon of gloom.
Well, I am not a Kansas fan, but I can't say that I fade Kansas either. I mean, K-State, they have been on a streak. They've been rocking and rolling. So I kind of think of TCU maybe as a look-ahead spot to Kansas. Like I could see it as that.
Yep.
But Kansas isn't just going to cruise in there and let Kansas State beat them. These two teams don't like each other. This is a shootout. And at the end of the day, if we're talking about who is the better team on the court, it's Kansas, you know. So I'm with you on this. We got to go with the Jayhawks here. I hate to say it, but whatever, bet on Kansas. Fine, whatever. It's going to be a really good game, though. Also, don't forget to use our promo code. We've got a new one for the Power Hour. It's playoff. It's going to save you 25% off of whatever you get from the Insiders Room over at picksandparlays.net. Okay, so let's move into the NBA. We're talking the Trailblazers at the Nuggets. Nuggets are -6.5 here. 238.5 is the total. What are we going to play here?
Well, the first thing that jumps out at me when I look at this game is that the total has really moved since opening. The line is basically the same. It opened at 7. It's right around 6.5 right now. But the total, it did open at 233, and yeah, it's up at 238 or even higher now. Yeah. Now the Blazers, they're going to have their work cut out for them here because really there's no team that enjoys a better home advantage than the Denver Nuggets. They're 19-3 straight up and 14-8 against the spread at home. Denver comes in, it's won 14 straight and 16 of its last 19. And of course, that means that they're on top of the Western Conference standings. And yeah, before a 119-116 overtime victory against Orlando last time out, that was a crazy victory too. I don't know if you saw that, but Jokic hit a three-pointer with 1.2 seconds left to secure the victory.
Yes, I do. I know it ruined some people's bets.
Right. Well, previous to that, Denver had won 4 straight by double digits. So this is the final game of the season between these two teams. They've actually already played 3 games this season. Portland did win the first game at home, but the Nuggets have taken the last 2. And that includes another crazy last-second win at Portland on December 8th, thanks to a Jamal Murray three-pointer with 0.8 of a second left in the game. Now, of course, if Portland has any hopes whatsoever in this game, it needs Damian Lillard to be Superman again, as it needs it every single night. He's actually averaging 35 points per game against Denver over these 3 games so far this year, and he's averaging 38 points per game over his last 5 games overall. The Blazers, they've won back-to-back games. They've seen the total go over in 2 straight. For me, instead of focusing on the side, I think that this total has gone a bit too high. I'm going to suggest a play on the under. Despite these high-scoring games, the Blazers, they still only average 113.3 points per game. The Nuggets, they do average 117, but I just think that the home side will be out to control the pace of this one a little bit more, run the offense through Jocic. That means some half-court sets here. And so my official call on this one, I'm going with the under.
Yeah, I like the under here too. 92% of the money on the over is just too much money on the over. They keep moving it up. The betting public is not adjusting. They still want over, over, over. It's the contrarian way to do it. Too much on one side, you go the other way. So we're taking it under the 238.5 when the Blazers take on the Nuggets tonight. Thank you so much, Nick Parsons, for stopping by. Everyone, check out the Insiders Room over at picksandparlays.net. Don't forget about our promo code PLAYOFF. And of course, like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. We're on every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Thanks so much for joining us on the Power Hour.